Hello, hello, everyone. Good evening. I know for us it's the morning. Can everybody hear me okay? Can I get a thumbs up somewhere? We good. Yona, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Just want to make sure my sound is as well. Hello, everyone. I see we have some students coming in shortly. I know we have hopefully more comes in throughout the session starts, but welcome. My name is Anna Louisa Teodoro. I'm from St. Francis College, and I'll give my colleague the chance to introduce herself as well.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Ioana Vulpe, and I work at Weber State University in Ogden, Utah.
And we are here today to go over the college admissions process. We know as international students, you guys all have a lot of questions and a lot of concerns that ultimately affect your timeline and your application status. So we are here to explain to you a little bit of one, how to go about looking for schools, how to go about starting this entire journey and process. And number two, how to go about applying to a U.S. university. Both of our institutions are located in the United States. So our presentation is going to focus mostly on how to start this entire process, what our application status is looking like, what are visas, and how do we go about this entire process. So with that being said, I do encourage all of you to ask questions. This is your time for us to help you. Ask questions, put them in the chat, and we'll leave time at the end for us to go over anything that you have. But in that regard, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sharing a little bit of a presentation for Iona and I to just go over some questions and topics and ideas that we've had prepared for you. Okay? So with that being said, let me share my screen in just a moment. All right. Does everybody see this on the big screen? Good?
Yeah.
Okay. So in regards to international students, this is just a little bit of information of us. I do encourage all of you to please visit our booth. Again, we have Weber State University and St. Francis College. Come visit our booth, learn a little bit more about us, and we'll be able to talk to you more after this presentation as well. But also for the kind of meat and potatoes of this presentation, hold on, let me change my screen. Every international student's journey is different. The ways that you're applying to school, how you start looking at all of this works differently based on one, who you are as a student, your economics background, and also your interests. What do you want to be doing? Each university has a unique place for you. And if the US is the best fit for you, which I'm sure both of us would love to have any of you at our universities, we want to make that possible. But it does come with different steps and different processes in order for you to look at that. So what we're going to be going over in this presentation is one, how to prepare your international profile. What are some materials that you're going to be needing? What are documents and things that you have to collect? And also how to pitch yourself to universities. How to find your best fit, how to research for this. Timeline of how to go over everything about the application process, as much as we can put it on a broad sense, and then also specific to our universities as well. And also how to look for opportunities. You guys truly have the world at your disposal. Not only the internet, you have the entire global map at your disposal and where you can apply for and opportunities to look for. And then additionally, what happens if you don't secure a visa? What happens if you do? And additionally, what does all of this look like in light of COVID-19? Because we do know that things are a little bit precarious for all of us right now, and things do change. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it off to Iona for a little bit for her to start off kind of talking of how to find the best fit for you at this school, or any school actually.
Thank you. So yeah, as Ana Luisa mentioned, actually the world is your, the sky is your limit. Don't think that you have to limit yourself. If you decide to study in the United States, there are over 4,000 universities. So you have to kind of narrow down what is important for you. And just remember that you are unique. You might get information from your friends might share their experience with you. Just knowing, what they've been through and wanting to help, but your experience will be different than your friend and your needs are unique. So think about what is more important for you when you are looking for a college or a university in the United States or anywhere for that matter. And there are a few things that I think they are important to look at. Location, does location matter for you? Do you want a big city? Do you want maybe a different area? Maybe you are coming from a big city and you would like something more quiet, more rural. Do you want a big university? Do you want a small university? So there are a lot to consider when it comes to location. United States is a very beautiful country. We have desert, we have mountains, we have beaches, we have big towns. So there is a lot to choose from in terms of location. Another thing that I would recommend to look or to keep in mind when you look for university is funding. So how much scholarship can you get? How much scholarship can you afford? How much is the cost of housing? How much is the cost of living? These are all important information that you would want to know before you apply for a university. You might get a scholarship, but you might not be able to, you know, if you're on a budget or if you have limited resources, you might have to kind of look for an area where those resources are easily available to you. Maybe you want to play a sport. Maybe you want, you know, a specific major or minor. So then you'll have to look for that school that offers that specific major or minor. There is a lot to consider when you're looking at university. And one thing that I want to kind of re-mention here is don't think that you have to limit yourself. You have so many opportunities. And just, you know, check it out, narrow down to maybe 10 schools. And then from there, you can see each school's application process. You can see which school can offer you maybe the best scholarship, and then move forward with the application process from there.
And additionally, speaking to that, so everybody kind of look at this slide, we're going to be going also in terms of how to research things. What I recommend for all of you is definitely come up with a budget. And what we mean by budget, and we'll go into better details of what should be included within that budget. But regardless, you should never, ever, ever assume that whatever scholarship that you receive will cover everything. As much as academic and merit-based scholarships are there, what their purpose to do is to help. Scholarships are to supplement your education. They're not to cover the tuition and costs fully. There are some full tuition scholarships, but you still require room and board, you still require travel costs, you still require books, you still require miscellaneous expenses. I mean, you gotta eat. I mean, everybody has to eat, but in regards to all of these things, when we're thinking about scholarships or we're thinking about fundings and opportunities, I think one of the best ways to start is to have a budget. Look to see reasonably that what you can afford year by year or within the 4, occasionally 5 years of your undergraduate education that you can devote to personal expenses, to education expenses. Because while scholarships are there, they are to supplement, not to cover costs entirely. Also, location. Like Yon had mentioned, there's a variety of different places for you to study for, but it's also very important that the schools that you're applying for has your program of study. I do recommend that you don't apply to just one school. Kind of get a handful. Iona said about 10. I occasionally say if we're going bare minimum 3. But give yourself a group of schools that you can choose from and make sure the schools that you're applying for have the programs that you're interested in. I would never want to see a student apply to a school, go through the entire process, get there, only to realize that they don't have anything that they're interested in studying. So do your research. A simple Google search does wonders. There's also the College Board website. If you're kind of confused of where to start looking at these processes, I recommend finding locations, doing a combination of your major and the city or state or things that you're interested in, and also reach out. Ask the admissions counselors at schools. Our job is to help you. Truly, nothing makes me happier than helping all of you. So when we're looking at all these things and figuring out what's your best fit, cost to consider is application fees. Sometimes schools require you to put down a deposit for you to submit an application. Price point that we mentioned, working within a budget. Also requiring exams. As international students, especially if you're from a non-English speaking countries, you do have to put a little bit of a cost up front in terms of one, if a school requires an exam like an SAT and ACT. 2, if you're from a non-English speaking country, you most likely are going to have to provide a proof of English proficiency. So something like a TOEFL, an IELTS, a Duolingo, just an exam to show that you have a college working level of English. 3, you might have to get your transcripts translated and evaluated. And what we mean by that is translated into English if they're not in English, and evaluated, meaning if they're not an American point system, to an American point system. But that's based university by university. Anything that you want to jump in on this of
No, I
how to
think you
research?
covered that. I think you covered that pretty good. I think another thing that is important to keep in mind is if your university has housing, or if it's easier for you to find housing, if you prefer to live on campus, if you don't mind living outside of the campus. So the location and the living arrangements are also important when you think about a college. And also what other activities the universities that you want to attend has. It's very important to get an education, but it's also important to get involved in other activities. Maybe you want to volunteer, maybe you want to participate in sports. So just look around at all the resources that a school has and what it's more important for you on what are you looking for. Don't limit yourself for just like one little part because that's what you want, because then you might be disappointed in the choice that you made.
And then additionally, when you're applying for schools, know your student type. If you are a student that has citizenship in a country outside of the US and has no citizenship in the US, you are an international student. If you're a student who has some kind of dual citizenship, meaning another country and the United States, you would essentially be considered as a domestic student. An international domestic student is kind of the weird term for it, but just kind of know who are you in this process. A freshman student is a student coming from high school to college, their very first time they've attended no other university. A transfer student means they've attended another university, whether it be internationally or domestically. A grad student is a student applying to a graduate program. And I throw athletes in there, even though athletes can be any of those things, just because athletes sometimes are working with a coach or a different program with that. So know who is eligible for what, meaning based on your student type, certain scholarships may or may not be open for you, or you have to follow different rules and different processes. So kind of know who you are coming into a university. And talking about a timeline, Iona, do you want to jump in a little bit on
Yes,
timeline?
absolutely. So every university has a different timeline, but I would say that a rule of thumb is definitely start looking at least 1 year before you graduated from high school, sometimes even longer than 1 year. So you can see what are the requirements, as Annalisa mentioned before, what are the test requirements that you have to take in order to prepare your application for admission, what are the English proficiency tests that you have to take, how can you get that financial documents that you need. So at least 1 year before you're ready to apply, start doing some research, narrow down to the universities that you choose, and then see what each university timeline is. Some university, they would really stop taking applications 6 months before the school starts. Other university, maybe they allow to have application until a month before school starts. So really each university is unique in this aspect. So it's better to be prepared. So that way, if you find a school that you really want to attend, you're within the time frame to apply.
Exactly. And then additionally, just note you most likely won't be able to submit an application until you are in your last year of high school, or essentially your second to last year. So while you can start looking very early, just keep in mind the timeframes and also the admissions processes of just what transcripts are accepted or not accepted based on what year of high school you're in. If you're a freshman in high school, most likely not going to receive an admissions decision until you're in towards the end of your high school career. So just know that. So, and this is kind of a rough overview of the timeline. We're not going to go into kind of dates and years because every student is different, but just kind of an overview of where we're going about in this process. So your second to last year, your last year of high school, and in these states, we usually call your junior or your senior year, but we also are adaptable to the ways that it works internationally, is when you start researching and applying for schools. You can start researching very early. You can only apply throughout this time frame though. After you've researched schools, you kind of get your feel, you kind of get your pool of where you want to be applying to. You submit your application and application materials. Note each school has their own application material requirements. I do recommend that you participate in information sessions or essay competitions or scholarship competitions throughout this time. Dates and deadlines will be your best friend. I recommend for all of you to keep a calendar a calendar of when things are due, when applications are due, when different scholarships and different information sessions. If setting up an alert on your phone is helpful, dates and deadlines are very important so you don't miss out on an opportunity. I also recommend you apply for internal and external scholarships throughout this time. And what we mean by that is scholarships that are through the universities that you're applying to, and then through outside private organizations as well, if they're available to you. Throughout this process, after you submit your materials, you are then given an admissions decision within the time frame of the university. If you're given a yes, fantastic. If you're given a no, maybe for another school. But regardless, if you're given a yes to move forward, you work on something called the I-20, and we'll go into detail of what that means in a minute. But essentially, you do that, most likely obtain your visa, and then gets very close to the finish line of course registration and arrival. So this is kind of the overview of how this process goes in terms of applying to a U.S. university. Yona, anything to add on this end?
No, I think this is a great timeline. Again, start early and make a calendar reminders, as Annalisa mentioned. I think that is important to keep yourself organized and accountable to make sure that you submit everything that you are required within a time frame that is needed.
And additionally, a small tip is that as you're applying, as you're submitting inquiries and documents and things like that, if you do not already have a professional email, please create a professional email. And what I mean by that is something that looks a little clean. Something like your first initial and your last name. So for example, my email is A Teodoro. And it doesn't hurt at all. It's just sometimes it's a little silly maybe to receive an application which the email address says xohugsandkisses@gmail.com. So if you don't have a professional email, I do recommend that you put it in, just because as you're doing this timeline, it does also help to keep things organized for you as well, to have it in one separate folder. So everything about the application process. Iona, do you want to go over this little overview?
So, of course, each university has their own application process, but I think these slides will kind of go over the general things that are required probably in each of the university. So after you're narrowed down, you know, the universities that you're going to apply for, most of the university require application fee. Some universities, in some specific situation, they are willing to waive the application fee. But I would say that 90% of the university, they require an application fee. And this can be different. Some university, they have like a small fee at $50. Some other universities, the application fee can go up to a few $100s. So just be prepared for that. In terms of transcript, as we mentioned before, your transcripts will have to be in English, and it has to be evaluated to the American education system. So some schools, they will do that inside the school. Some other schools, they will refer you to like credential evaluation agencies where you would send your transcript, and some of them provide translation service as well as credential evaluation services. Test score, each university is unique in terms of what they require, but a lot of the university require SAT, ACT scores, and also an English proficiency score. So it's important to prepare to see what is required for the school that you're deciding to apply. And right now with things going differently because of the COVID, a lot of the testing center, they are offering at-home testing. So just look into that. If you're in the final year or getting closer to the final year, you can maybe start taking some of these tests at home already. I'm going to say recommendation letters first, and personal statements. A lot of the universities require these, so these are part of your application process as well. Besides all these that are really part of your application process, there is a part that is it's called your immigration profile, and that's when the funding documents come in place. So after, a lot of universities operate on the basis of first you are admitted into the university, and then the second step of the application process is creating your immigration profile. And for immigration profile, it is a requirement from the immigration requirements here in the United States that you show funding documents that you can afford to come to school here in the United States. You might get a scholarship, and that can be considered as part of the total funding documents. But as we mentioned, it's pretty rare that you get a 100% funding funding, school and board. So you're definitely going to have to show some funding on your own. And it can be your own bank statement, you can have your parents, or you can have other sponsors. A lot of the times the sponsor are required to sign a document attesting that they agree to sponsor you, and then provide a bank statement. So have those kind of in mind and ready to go. And depends on each university, other documents might be required as well.
And in speaking with that, when we talk about recommendation letters and personal statements, I do ask for all of you to do your research on that. If one, certain schools require the recommendation letters to come from specific people, and also your personal statement of knowing what that is. I know we have different information sessions regarding that, so I wouldn't go into too much detail with that, but just know that a recommendation letter typically comes from a teacher, so somebody professional within your life. Your recommendation letter should not come from a family member, should not come from a friend, should not come from a peer. It should be coming from somebody that's like a teacher, a guidance counselor. If you have a part-time job or a full-time job, should be something that's coming from them. If you're going from a graduate level, it should be from a professor most likely, or from a professional application, a professional, what's the right word? Contact. I think that's the right word that I'm trying to use. So just know that a recommendations letter should never come for your peers. Give yourself an appropriate time to get things done. Your personal statements and your essay should not be done the night before. These things take a long time, and I know usually for a lot of admissions process and applications process, they're short essays, about a page or two long. Give yourself the bare minimum of a month to complete these. 2 weeks, the absolute latest, but I don't like 2 weeks. I do like about a month for you to read things over and get that done. So I'm talking about international students in the US. In order for you to enter the country, unless you are a dual citizen, you require an F1 student visa, meaning every visa status within the United States allows you to do certain things. The F1 student visa allows you to come study at a university in the States for the allotted time of your course of study. You are not eligible to study without this visa. So throughout this entire process of the college admissions world, first, like how Iona had mentioned, you're given an admissions letter saying, yes, you've been accepted in the school, detailing your scholarship, detailing your tuition, and detailing any aid. After you are given an acceptance letter, you then move forward with working with either the international student advisor, a designated school official. You have a contact at the school that works with you of completing the documents and creating your international student profile in order for you to obtain the F1 student visa. Let me make this very clear. Universities do not give you the visa. We give you all the forms so you can go to your embassy in order to receive a visa. So as much as we help you throughout this visa process, the university itself has no control if you obtain a visa or not. We do everything we can to help you get one, and we give you all the instructions to do so. So what the F1 student visa requires is something called an I-20 proof of funds. You are never, ever required to pay the amount on an I-20 proof of funds. What it is essentially, the best way that I can think of describe it is like a safety net. If you've ever been to a circus, if you've ever been to a show, it is somebody walking across a tight wire, and if they fall, it's a net to keep them safe. And that is essentially what the I-20 is. It is a safety net of showing bank statements, whether it's you, a family member, or a sponsor, that if somebody needs to support cost of living, these are bank statements to prove that somewhere in the world, somebody can. You are never required to pay the amount on the I-20. No one will ever take funds from a sponsor. The only thing that you're responsible for paying for moving forward in the future is tuition and any other miscellaneous student costs that are associated with that. And within the I-20, the fees that are associated with it are housing, books, travel, health insurance, and et cetera with that regards. So anything that you want to add in terms of the I-20 in this area?
I think that covers. So basically the I-20 is the funds that are required for the I-20 is a cost estimate for 1 year. So that's the amount that is included in the I-20, and that's what most of the schools are looking for in the bank statement. So they need to see that you have those funds ready to go when you arrive in the United States. You don't really have to pay them in advance, as we mentioned before, but we do need to see them. That's an immigration requirement, and you sometimes want to negotiate with the schools. It's pretty non-negotiable. You have to show that bank statement that shows that you are capable to have those money for 1 year, like whatever is the cost estimate for 1 year.
And this is where we say that scholarships are here to support, because regardless if you're giving scholarship that covers your tuition, you still have to show cost of living and proof of expense for the I-20. And you are not eligible to start studying in the States without an F1 visa. And in order to obtain an F1 visa, you have to show proof of funds within the I-20. Ask your admissions counselor, whoever's helping you along with your application, they'll be able to help you throughout this whole process. Ask questions. It's better to ask questions than to not. I think it kind of wraps up the stuff when it comes to I-20 and immigration issues. So that being said, I do see that we had one question or two in the chat. Before we go on to speaking about our individual universities, let's take the floor. If anybody has any questions, type them in really quickly. I know that we did have one student that wanted to know about scholarships. So I can talk a little bit briefly of how it goes on the wider end, and I know you can jump in on that as well. And then we can, as we present our individual universities, we can talk about the scholarships that our school provides for. So first things first, when we do talk about scholarshiping, again, each school has their own model. Some schools provide something called merit-based scholarships. And what a merit-based scholarship is based on the grades that you provided to us from test exams, from high school, if you're coming from another university. We award scholarship based on your level of academic performance. Some universities offer an international student scholarship. Knowing that you are an international student, they automatically, or in some cases based on essays and things like that, offer scholarship. There's also essay competitions and maybe personal videos or interview competitions, in which those are done on a competition bracket or circuit in that regard, that you have to apply for them and supply materials based on the deadlines and the requirements of the schools. Again, research each individual school that you're looking for, because while these are broad topics and terms, each school does so on an individual basis. Do you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I think you pretty much cover all. So each school will have different type of scholarship that you can apply for. And sometimes you might start with a scholarship in your first year, but after you arrive on campus, you might have the opportunity to apply for different scholarships. So don't think that the scholarship that you start will be the only scholarship that you can have. You can definitely apply for more scholarship as you are a student after you arrive here in the United States.
And I don't think we have any more questions coming in. If you do have any, please type them in. We're more than happy to answer them. But with that being said, Iona, the floor is yours to present your university for a bit.
Yeah, so I'm just I have a few slides that I want to talk about Weber State University. I'm also going to leave my email address here in the chat. So if you have questions or if you want to schedule an appointment with me to speak about Weber State University, I will be happy to do that even in another day. I know you'll have questions that will come to mind after this presentation, so feel free to reach out to me at any time. Weber State University, we are located in Ogden, Utah. Utah is a very beautiful state in the United States. We are in the southwestern part of the United States. We have the desert, we have the mountains. As you saw from the first picture, that's a picture from our campus. A lot of our students, domestic and internationals, they always joke that their campus is better than other campus. And it's really true. Our campus is really pretty. Utah has a lot to offer in terms of outdoor opportunities. So if you like nature, if you like to be outside, if you like to hike, bike, ski, that's definitely the place to be. Ogden, it's a small city in the state of Utah. We are 45 minutes from the International Airport in Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City is the capital of state Utah, state of Utah, and we are located 45 minutes outside of the capital. Ogden is a very friendly town, has a really great community. All of our international students here are always surprised how nice and friendly people are and welcoming everyone is. And we think that we have something for everyone. We have more than 200 degree programs. We have more than 29,000 students. We have more than 300 international students from 62 different countries. We believe that international students bring a great diversity to the campus. They make our campus a global village, and we are really, really happy to have them here. So stop by the booth or send me an email and let's talk about Weber State more in detail. And I can show you some videos as well and kind of talk about what we have to offer at Weber State. Another great thing about Weber State is that our classrooms are fairly small. So usually it's around 21 students to a teacher, which really allows the teacher to give that special attention to the students. The teacher gets to know the student's name. So they create that bond, and then the students feel that they get the personalized attention that they need to be successful in their education. Our entire application process, we were talking about application process before, so our entire application process is online. It's very student friendly. Basically, you have to upload all the documents into the online portal, and the only thing that you have to send to the university are your test scores, which they can be sent electronically directly from the testing center. So if you're taking SAT or ACT or any other English proficiency test, those have to be submitted directly from the testing center, but everything else you can upload in your international student portal. So it's very friendly, very kind of easy process, not too much to really, discover there. We are really an affordable university here for an education here in the United States. Our cost estimate, which includes the tuition and fees, books, room and board. So the cost estimate for one academic year is just a little bit over $27,000, which we really think that makes us a really great choice for international students, because you're able to get a really good education at an affordable price without breaking the bank. We all know that money is important for everyone, and we are happy that we are able to keep our cost affordable. And then one great thing about Weber State is also that we offer a lot of scholarships for international students. I would say that 80% of our international students, they start with an academic scholarship, which really helps. And our academic scholarship, the highest one, it's $8,000 per 1 year, which is really going to cut your tuition cost in half. So our tuition cost is just a little bit over $16,000, and with a scholarship that is $8,000, basically your tuition cost cuts to $8,000, which is really great. That would put you on a total cost estimate of an education under $20,000. These are some resources, and we will upload the presentation in the portal so you have access to it. Again, feel free to send me an email. Let's come and chat in the booth. And if you have any more information, I know it's a lot to take in a presentation, and you won't be able to retain everything. So I am here to help you through the application process and to answer any questions you might have at any time.
Thank you, Yona. I know learning about the university is something that the students greatly appreciate, and this is also some of their contact information as well.
Yes, absolutely. So send me an email or connect to the international admission team here, and then let's talk about Weber State. And now Anna will present about her amazing university.
Thank you, Yona. And to talk about St. Francis College, I do know that we have some questions in the chat, so I'm going to take a moment because I know we have some time. So I'll take a moment to kind of answer some of these questions. Iona, do you want to answer a little bit if your university offers an engineering or astronomy course or scholarships in that regard?
Absolutely. So we have a lot of engineering program actually here at Weber State. We have a College of Engineering and Technology, and we don't have an astronomy course, but we have electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, we have computer science, computer engineering. So I'm going to write in the chat the link to our engineering programs. We don't have astronomy, but we have a lot of engineering programs. And in terms of scholarship, yes, our scholarship process is somehow automatically. So once you submit your transcript as part of the application process, we automatically review the transcript and we'll tell you how much scholarship you can qualify for. And definitely those scholarships are for all the programs at Weber State.
Okay, and then in regards to St. Francis College, before I talk a little bit about our university, while we do not offer astronomy or engineering, we do have 70 plus majors and minors. I highly recommend you go to our booth and you'll be able to see all the different programs and majors listed and see what's a good fit for you. And we have one other student that just asked if we accept English Proficiency via Duolingo. I know our university does. Iona, does your university accept Duolingo?
As well. So for undergraduate study, as long as you score 90 in Duolingo, then you can start your academic studies right away.
And most universities at this point do accept the Duolingo. And what we mean by the Duolingo, it's an online English proficiency exam. So it's not just the one you take on your phone just to kind of learn the language. It is an exam. The fee for it, I believe, it's about 49 to 50 US dollars. But the score itself is accessible to you to send to all different platforms and is mostly accepted by almost all universities in terms of proof of English proficiency. Some schools might require a TOEFL, which is like the more official, but regardless, the Duolingo is an official exam and most universities do accept it. So that being said, I would love to share a little bit more about St. Francis College located in Brooklyn Heights, New York. So kind of opposite from Weber State, we have, you guys were given the opportunity to learn about more of a rural area of university. Now you're going to learn about more of an extremely urban area. So if somebody is interested in New York, in the general area of that, we like to say Brooklyn is our home, but the city is our backyard. We have the entire city at your disposal as a student and located. If no one is familiar with New York, Brooklyn Heights is the area kind of outside of Manhattan. So you have the entire area of Wall Street and all of that to your disposal, which is especially profitable if you are somebody who is a business student, which tends to be one of our most popular majors and minors. So just a little bit of background information about all of this. Our university was founded in 1859. We are a Catholic university that's based on Franciscan values, which essentially just means we value community service. We value being a part of our member and our community in an international way and a domestic way. Additionally, we are a private school, but at a public school cost, meaning that we're extremely affordable, especially compared to other New York universities, and we are a small campus. When you walk through our doors, we know you by name. And throughout your entire 4 years, you have one academic counselor that works with you the entire time. Every time you go into a classroom, your professor knows your name, knows your history, knows your story. You're not just a number to us. You're a person with a name and a history that we like to value and represent. And additionally, we also have brand new residence halls, which is something that I'm really excited about. I'm always a fan of really nice furniture. But in regards to just living arrangements and things like that, we support our students doing off-campus and on-campus living arrangements. And additionally, due to COVID-19, our university, and I will also let Weber State also kind of speak to this as well, do offer or are offering accommodations for students in terms of their learning. Continuing students and also first-time students are eligible to do hybrid, meaning half classes in person and half online due to COVID-19. If you are a first and incoming student, you are required to do a hybrid one. If you're a continuing student, you're allowed to do it completely online for now. Do you want to speak a little bit about?
Yes, absolutely. We kind of do the same. So we are starting the fall semester. Actually, we already have a few on-campus classes. So we have on-campus classes, we have hybrid classes, which means that some of the instruction is offered on class and some of the instruction is offered online. And then we also have completely online classes. As Anna mentioned, part of the immigration regulation for the fall and spring semester was that if you're coming to the United States for the very first time, you were required to enroll in at least one in-person class because of the COVID. Before this time of COVID, once you're an international student, you have to have at least 9 credit hours that are in person, and then you can have one online class. I also wanted to mention something that I forgot when we were talking about housing, that we are also offering on-campus housing, but it is not mandatory.
And the same thing for us. It's not required for you to stay on campus housing, but it is required since we are also a commuter school. And what that means by that is that a large number of our students don't live on campus. They go and they live somewhere else, but some do choose, meaning that as an international student, we give you the flexibility of choosing where you want to stay, as long as it's an appropriate travel distance of the school. Some students like to use public transportation. Some students like to stay closer and just kind of walk to campus. It just depends on what your personal living arrangements are. But regardless, we try to support you as best as we can in regards to that. Additionally, talking about St. Francis College, this is our neighborhood. Truly, this is not an exaggeration of the skyline. I wish it was an exaggeration, so like it's still from a movie, but this is what you see when you walk outside of our campus. If you look on this map right over here, on this little red dot is where St. Francis College is located. We are, even though this seems like a little bit of a distance, it's truly maybe a 3 to 5 minute subway ride from this location to Lower Manhattan. The East Village is my personal favorite area of New York. So if you ever do visit New York, I'd be more than happy to give you a socially distant tour of the area, of just knowing a little bit of where we're located and different resources that are available to you. That being said, this is what our campus does look like. I know it's kind of hard to see what a campus is and get a feel for it, but when you do walk in through these doors, we have a very big sports life on campus. We are a D1 division school, meaning that we compete in athletics at the highest athletic level that a university can. So if you are a student athlete, I do just like to keep that in mind, of knowing that we're more of a competition-based sports school as opposed to a recreational, but we do have recreational-based teams as well. You're more than eligible to join, and our student life is really, really excited about that. On the weekdays or weekends when we do have games playing, students do come and show their support and wear their St. Francis t-shirts and flags and come to support their team as they compete. So some of the sports that we have are basketball, water polo, tennis, track and field, just to name a few. And you can see more of it on our booth of just some ideas of what the university has to offer in terms of things outside of academics. And then speaking of academics, these are some of our 70 plus majors and minors that we do have at the school. Like how Iona had mentioned, it is required for you to do a hybrid in order to maintain your active visa status for now coming for the fall term. But we have a variety of different courses for you to choose from. That one will help you maintain this status, and two, help you pursue your college education. If you are interested in the graduate program, we do offer graduate programs as well, but I do like to say, I do feel like most of the students on this fair are undergraduates, so I do want to speak to that a little bit. Some of our most popular majors include accounting and business law, biology with a pre-med track. So if you're a student that is interested in pursuing a medical career in the future, by all means, we have that for you. And also in economics, so in terms of finance and public policy, we have that for you there. Graduate degree programs, we have an accounting, psychology, management, and creative writing program. Those requirements are a little bit different than the undergraduate one and do require a bachelor's degree, but we go into all those details throughout the admissions process to help you out. Costs and scholarships. I know this is the most ludicrous aspect where students kind of want to pay attention and take notes on. So as an international student, you automatically at St. Francis College come in with scholarship valuing of either $10,000 or $14,000 based on your GPA. You get something called a merit-based plus international scholarship. The merit-based is based on your GPA. So if you're a B and above average, which is about a 2.7 and above, you are guaranteed a scholarship of $7,500. If you're a B and below, it is $3,500. But you also automatically get a scholarship of $6,500 just coming in. So no essay, no anything. You submit your applications, you go through the admissions process. Upon your acceptance letter, you are given that. Meaning that international students per year spend between $10,000 to $13,000 on tuition. That's the range for international students, which means their tuition rate is already cut in half automatically coming in. And if you are a first-time freshman student, you're eligible for 2 different essay competitions that we have. That kind of can offset costs even more. We can go into those scholarship details in a second, but in terms of admissions requirements, what we require is translated and evaluated transcripts. So they have to be in English. They should be in a US point system. We are partnered with an organization called SpanTran. So if you're not sure of where to get these documents evaluated, by all means, you can use our service SpanTran. That does take a small fee in order to go and process all these documents, but a really good thing is that once you do so, the documents that are translated and evaluated are valid for us and other universities that you're applying to. Any questions with that, please email me. I'll also drop my contact information in the chat. We also require proof of English proficiency, which may be waived if you're coming from an English-speaking country or if you're coming from an international high school where English is the primary mode of instruction. And so different scores like that is a TOEFL is a 70, an IELTS is a 6, Duolingo is a 95, PT is a 50, and ITEP is a 3.7. So these are just some kind of admission requirements that we require in order for me to tell you yes or no that you can come to St. Francis, which I want to tell you yes. I want to tell all of you yes. And last thing I do want to talk about is our international essay competitions. So as first-time freshman students coming in for the fall 2021 term, again, incoming freshmen for the fall term. This is not eligible for transfer students or graduate students, and also if you're applying to enter the spring term. And what we mean by fall and spring is the dates where kind of entry is open. So fall is usually September, spring is usually between January and February. For us, it's January. For other universities, may be different. So if you're coming in September as a first-time freshman student, you are eligible for 2 different scholarships. One is called the You Are Welcome Here Scholarship. That one, the deadline, at least this year, is February 2nd if you're applying now at this term. That one is a partial tuition scholarship, meaning whatever your tuition rate on your acceptance letter is listed as will be divided in half. So if you have to pay $10,000 for school, what that means is that it would be divided in half. It'd be $5,000 per year. So that's our You Are Welcome Here scholarship, and that requires an application in either a video essay or a written essay in order to qualify. And we choose 2 students who receive that per year. Another one is our presidential scholarship, which you have to have an 85 in GPA and above in order to participate. But essentially, you are put into the running of receiving a full tuition scholarship that covers your tuition for all 4 years. It's renewable every year. Does not recover room and board. None of these scholarships cover room and board. It's simply tuition. But essentially, if you have an 85 GPA and above, you submit an essay along with the times, along within the time frame of application, and you are given an interview, and finalists are chosen between March and April. At this point, the application cycle for that one has closed, but I think it will open up again in a few weeks in order to take some last-minute applicants. So these are some information of the scholarships that we offer for first-time freshmen coming in for the fall term at St. Francis College. And to kind of wrap everything up, here's some contact information. I'll drop my email in the chat as well, but at St. Francis College, what we also offer is an international department. So not only do you have the admissions team and you have me that works within your application, you also have an entire department called SFC International that is devoted to the well-being and also guidance for international students, in which special programming is made. We have a special chapter called Amnesty International, which focuses on human rights on a global level, and also different advisors and counselors that are specially trained in order to help you along with your undergraduate process and cater your needs specifically as an international student. So the manager for that is my colleague Bora Dimitrov and Esther Hassel. If you have any questions about anything that we spoke about today, please email me. Again, my name is Ana Luisa Teodoro at St. Francis College. You can email me at ateodoro@sfc.edu, but I'll also drop this in the chat. That being said, that kind of wraps up our presentation. I'll open up the floor so some questions. I did see some coming in. Let me stop sharing my screen. I'll write down all this information in the chat of how to contact me, and we can go and answer some questions that we have. Oh, and I think you're on mute.
Sorry. Don't be shy. Ask away. You have the opportunity to ask questions now. We are here to answer all your questions, so take advantage of us being here today. Of course, if you cannot think of anything, you can always email us for future questions, or come and check us out on our booth.
I also think in these last 10 minutes, what we can do is maybe speak a little bit some other tips and tricks that we have in order to help. I do see we have one question coming in of a student asking if we have any political science majors. Yona, does Weber State have any political science
Yes,
programs?
we actually have a political science major, and that could also take you into a pre-law school. So yeah, definitely, if you want information about the political science major, I can connect with you and give you more information about the program.
And the same is this for St. Francis College. We do offer a political science program that also serves as a pre-law. So if you are interested in going to law school or criminal justice and things like that, we have that for you. Another thing to note within this admissions process, as an international student, I know we mentioned dates and deadlines, I know we mentioned budget, is to stay in touch with your admissions counselor. Stay in touch to whoever's reviewing your application, and also be very realistic of your situation. We want to help you. The more information that you give us about certain things is the better, so we can advocate on your behalf. We have a student asking if we offer talent scholarships, like a dance varsity or a sports scholarship in that regard.
Yes, at Weber State we do have, so we have a music major and music performance and dance majors, and those scholarships can be offered through the program. So you will have to apply for the program and audition, and then the program can decide if they want to offer you a scholarship, and those would be in additional to the academic scholarship that you are offered as an international student. And the same is true with sports scholarships. So if you are an athlete, if you are really good at one sport, you have to be recruited by the coach. And then if the coach decides that you can be part of the team, then they can offer you a scholarship that is different than the academic scholarship.
And for St. Francis College, it is similar in terms of sports scholarships. While we don't offer talent scholarships like dance or art, for sports scholarshiping, what we recommend is that you connect with the coaches directly. The coaches recruit athletes in order for us to work with them. Any athletic scholarshiping is done through the athletic department as opposed to being done through the admissions department. We focus more on the educational aspect of it as opposed to athletics in that regard. Another note I would say in terms of this admissions process as well is to keep really close mind of the I-20. Different states have different costs of living. So while you might have one I-20 cost from one school, if another school is in a different state, that proof of funds may be different because the cost of living may be higher or lower depending on the region that you're applying to. So keep that in mind. If you get one I-20 for one school, or you're going through that process and then you maybe want to go to another one, just note that it might be a little bit of a change in that regard. And to not ignore expenses, I think, is one of the biggest things of knowing that you might need to get on a plane. You might have to buy books and things like that. Well, you will have to buy books, ton of might, in that regard. And I do see one more question coming in of a student that wants to know a little bit more about the engineering course, like civics or electrical engineering. And I know we don't offer engineering at St. Francis College. This is all for Weber State.
Yeah, so we do not have a civil engineering department, but we have construction engineering, and then we do have electrical engineering. So the way that our scholarship works, and this is for all the programs, you submit your application online, your international student application. As part of the application, one of the required documents is the transcript, your high school transcripts or your college transcript. And once we receive the transcript, we can tell you how much scholarship you can qualify for. And if you're on a 0 to 100 scale system, if your grades are 60 and above, then you definitely qualify for our highest scholarship, which is $8,000 per academic year. And that's a 4-year scholarship that, as long as you maintain a 2.5 GPA after you join Weber State, that scholarship, you'll keep it with you for 4 years.
And
Okay, I'm going to answer this from Weber State. So the question was if we have a volleyball team. At Weber State, we do not have an official volleyball team. There might be like a volleyball club where you can play in a recreational form, but we do not have official men volleyball team, just a woman volleyball team.
And at St. Francis College, we do have an official men's volleyball team that competes, and we have a recreational one. So we got both at St. Francis College in terms of that volleyball opportunities for you to be a part of. Okay, and I see that Marco kind of put a message in the chat. With that being said, I believe we're kind of over with this presentation. Iona, any parting words that you want to give to the students today?
I just want to tell all of you, thank you for allowing us to present to you today. We are really excited that you participated in our presentation, and we look forward to working with you to help you through the application process. And a lot of questions will come after this presentation, so don't feel like any question is a bad question. Don't feel like you're asking a lot of questions. That's how you learn. That's how you're going to get to be successful. So ask away, send us an email. We are here to support you through this journey.
And the same thing for me and my end. It's a pleasure getting to have and speak to all of you and learning more about your journeys and answering your questions in that regard. So again, please visit us in our booths, Weber University, St. Francis College. Please come visit us, come speak to us. We want to hear from you. And I hope all of you stay well, stay safe. Let us know if you need anything, and we hope to see you around the virtual or physical campus in the future. So that being said, hope everybody has a great rest of their day, their evening, or their morning, just depending on where we're at the world.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.